Hello, hello. Welcome to the Confidence Cure podcast with myself, Louise. Today we have the lovely Marcus Combs, and we are talking and how he got there and how it helps other people, which I am really, really excited about. So, a massive welcome, Marcus. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Today I'm sitting at
Hello,
my
can you
favorite
hear
coffee
me?
shop. They've lent me their podcast space. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So, you're in your podcast space.
Yes, absolutely. In my favorite coffee shop here in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, amazing. What is it that you actually do?
What is it that I actually do? That's a great way to put actually because people get confused. So, what I actually do is empower people with their original blueprint of their greatness and what gifts they're meant to have and the purpose they're supposed to live here in this life. And I do it through numerology. So, numerology is an ancient practice attached to the Romans and Pythagoras and even ancient civilizations before then. And essentially, what it does, it distills every letter in the alphabet into an energy in the numbers 1 through 9. And as words form, then numbers form. And that ends up being a cipher that you can decode that is intentionally made for you alone. So when your parents give you a birthday and a birth name, you have an imprinted code in your life, in your DNA, that essentially assigns you with what is in your best interest in this lifetime. And so I've seen it work for thousands. I've seen it work for myself and family and friends. And so I feel it's my calling to share that with others.
Okay, that is so interesting. There's not many people that I know that actually do that. So, is this something that you've always done?
Absolutely not. It is definitely not something I've always done. And I say it that way because, a part of my life path is spirituality. And I grew up in a very religious home, a very strict home. And I was instilled a lot of great values. But in doing and going through that path, everything essentially that I've been exposed to the last 5 years and now that I'm championing is opposite of what I was kind of taught to lean into. And so it's a bold move for me to do this. But I think what I have found over time is that I've always been drawn to identity. So if it's the enneagram, if it's strength finders, if it's Myers-Briggs, all of these different tools that kind of lay out your personality, I've always really embraced them. So I have a corporate background of over 20 years. And during my time as an executive, I got exposed to some really great tools. And those tools, give you quizzes and surveys about what your strengths are and what you do best and how you contribute. And what I found that was interesting is with each new job or each new part of my life, that quiz was a little bit different. And so while it was
Mhm.
telling me, some of my natural strengths, it was doing it in the frame of how I was thinking conditioned. And so I'll plug the fact that numerology is special, like I said, because the name and birth date are given to you in the beginning when you're a baby, before you even have an identity, before you can get influenced. And so what
Yeah.
numerology does that's so special is it assigns you your preconditioned self, what you do naturally well, your raw talents, what you're meant to do before the teachers, before the coaches, before the movies, and all the things that influence you. And so, because I knew I was consistently drawn to that, I felt once I discovered numerology, it just made sense.
Okay, that's absolutely. It's so interesting. But what actually made you go from? So obviously, you was really successful in the corporate world. What made you have that switch? What guided you into this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's a consistent exposure and love for tools and training that I was getting, and then I started applying those to people on my team. So I was responsible for other people on my team and their development, and I started to get exposed to numerology myself and wanted to use that with them. And I found that day to day, as a sales executive, I was chasing a lot of numbers, a lot of deadlines. But really, what lit me up the most was helping the people on my team achieve their goals and helping them develop. And so I really wanted to step into a space and felt like it was my calling to full-time help others live their best lives. And so that's how we got here.
And you can do that all from numerology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so simple. They say sometimes the most simple thing is the true thing or the right thing. That's how I feel like numerology is. So there are no quizzes. Um, there's nothing that you do except put in your name and birth date, and it will give you the template to your best self. And here's how. I have distilled it, the practice, as a numerologist myself and a strategist, into four key pieces, and I call them the core four. Okay. So your core four are your life path, which is from your birthday. It is your birthday number. So the actual day you were born, I was born May 3rd. So the three is my birthday number, your expression number, and then your heart's desire number. And they sound exactly like they are. So the life path is essentially all of the challenges and all of the things that you need to walk through and live in this life in order to fully live your purpose. Your heart's desire is exactly what it sounds like. It's what you crave and want most in your life. And that's going to lead you. It's kind of like, where you're consistently trying to get to your safe place. Your birthday number is your raw talent. So that's what you naturally do well when people are like, man, you're good at that. Or something that you don't have to practice. It's just something that you just do. That's your birthday number. And then the last of the four, again, is the expression number. And that is essentially your how you show up in the world aligned in action. So for me, I'm an expression 8. And so it is really in me to push business and to be in the space of wanting to push success and to wanting to get power out of the most, of a situation. And so I think that's what served me in my corporate career. But now I've aligned myself to my spiritual path, and together I've formed a company and hopefully a mission and a movement for the rest of anybody else who accepts it.
Okay, no, that sounds really good. And with that then, so you can say that you're so driven to get this done. How can this change people's lives? Like how does it actually help them? So say if I came to you, for instance, like I was struggling, I don't know, financially, in relationships or anything like that. From finding out them things, how would that actually form my life around? If that makes sense. From
Yeah.
how would you find out how to change and
That's very thoughtful. So the way that I have it built in this program that I'm building around numerology, I'm very excited and I've started to deploy, essentially is called the power pyramid, and it's your power pyramid. So we take those core four numbers as your foundation. Those are your raw gifts and talents I went through, and we start to move them into actions and clarity. So for instance, if you were a life path 5, you crave adventure and excitement, right? But your heart's desire is peace. So together, what I would do is say, where in your life can you satisfy the peace of mind that you have exposure and you have a way to get the adventure and excitement that you also need to leave in your life, right? So let's say you're on a workout journey. Maybe the workout that you built is too boring and mundane, and you need to leave a space for not just to go to the gym, but to go hiking. And that will make you feel better about your workout journey. I could use the same with love. If you're in a relationship and you currently feel like, you need to have times where you have date time with your partner or times where you guys do exciting things together, you can communicate that to your partner to say, this is what lights me up and it makes me feel fulfilled. And so that's just one or two of the ways that you can start to piece together what I call is this pyramid of ascension, where you can start to build your foundation, understand what clarity is, and then align thousands of times over so that you can make the most of moments and communicate your best self to others.
okay, that's really good. And I can actually see how that, like, you just look now. Do you know, like when you said you came from your corporate background and then you went into this type of work, how did you transition? Like, was it a big shock? What did your family say? Because obviously you said you came from like a very spiritual background. Was there anything in your own life that really which you struggled with the transition?
What's funny is, first off, it was a huge shock, absolutely, to everybody. Nobody knew that in the background I was studying numerology. No one knew in the background that I was building my own LLC and that I was doing things on Reddit in the dark, trying to, build an audience and, communicate more, through this practice. And essentially, when it came down to was people understand my ambition and they understand, how I've shown up in the corporate world in terms of being a performer and wanting to empower others. And so, what the real big moment for me was Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Hello? Are you still there?
Yes, I am. We lost each other.
I don't know what happened then. Like you literally just went off the screen.
It's
So what did
gone.
no? So nobody could hear you study. Knew that you were studying, and then you was building all this in the background. What actually where? And then it kind of cut off. What happened then?
Oh yeah, so that's the big reveal. So what happened then is I made it clear that I had left my corporate position to live my calling. And I didn't tell anybody what that calling was, right? And I think in a way it was because I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was compelled to live this mission. I did not know how to articulate it yet. And so, one of the things that you'll learn is, if you start to really attach yourself to numerology, is the numbers are a part of cycles. So just like you have a year, a month, and a day, those all represent cycles. And everybody has their own personal cycles. And my cycle was leaning up to a personal year 8. And that's very important in numerology because that is the time for you to start to manifest all the things you've done in the previous parts of the last 7 years. And so I knew that I had to double down and create space for me to fully live into that. And so when I resigned from my role and didn't really give people a reason, they were unsettled. But people know that I do things within some version of practicality and with some version of vision. And so as that vision has started to come more to life, people understand and get it. And I think a lot of it is safety. When you talk to a lot of people, if someone cares about you, they want you to be in a good
Yeah.
space. But I've always felt compelled and convicted that I'm on the right path with the numbers. And so I'm excited in this year to see, how I can bless others.
Okay, that's really, really cool how you literally just like, right, I'm gonna change. How long ago was that you made the decision to transition?
Almost 3 months ago. This is very new.
I was gonna
I
say
am
that's not long.
still on my path. Yeah, you're seeing it built in real time.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's so cool. Have you actually told your friends and family what it is now? Like, have you actually told them like what your enjoy, what your path is?
Yes, and their eyes cross because they don't at all understand, but they respect me, right? What exactly I'm doing. And in all honesty, I'm not doing it for my family. I'm doing it for myself and for others that need to find this, right? And to serve this. And as I stated before, I know that it's in my chart and in my path for me to be this for others to benefit. And so I'm going to double down. And if you want to follow in real time to see where this goes, I invite you at the end of the call to stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how this goes. Can you give me an example of how, like with a real life client, with yourself, how you've actually applied your work into someone's life and how it's like blossomed, or how I don't know how to like actually say it.
No, I think blossom is the right way. I use the word ascend or how they feel
Yeah,
aligned.
that's a good one.
But in particular, I had a gentleman who'd come to me with struggles about a new job that they were in. And
Hmm.
so essentially, they had got promoted into a role. And like a lot of us, we feel imposter syndrome. Are we qualified? Did we move too fast? Right. And so I was able to take his core four and talk to him about what his natural raw strengths are and to give him a foundation of understanding of what he does well, what he should watch out for as weaknesses. So I should plug that the numbers that you get that are assigned to you have both a strength and a shadow side. So for instance, I shared before that as a 5, maybe you crave adventure and excitement. That's fun. But what isn't so fun is you can be distracted, that you can be an escapist and look to run away from things, right? You have low commitment. So it's about awareness when it all comes down to it. And so I was able to give this gentleman the awareness that he needed to say, hey, the reason why you feel this way is you haven't fully embraced how far you've come and what you have naturally that are your strengths. This is your confidence pyramid. This is your pillar. You can lean on this. And so in moments of unease, this is something that he could lean on. And he started showing up different in meetings. He started to land the deals that he was looking for. And it was because he showed up different. There's not so much that he got a new skill, so much as he really had belief in himself. And if I could plug this too, I had a unique conversation a couple days ago online with someone who was challenging me about what is the difference between pretending and belief, right?
Mhm.
Isn't belief just a version of pretending? And if you break down the word pretending, like any word, it has a prefix, which is pre. So it's
Yeah,
something that you haven't done yet, right? That's not what belief is. They're not the same. Belief is to be. The first two letters of belief is be, right? So
yeah,
when you get to a point of conviction and you believe, you can fully step into who you're meant to be. And that's what happened with that gentleman. And that's why I think it's so important to embrace and understand that numerology has you figured out. You just got to believe.
that's absolutely insane. And with like, so when you do your own, so like obviously when you was doing how long, so what I'm trying to say is when you was in the corporate world and you were studying numerology, was you finding things out about yourself that didn't quite align with what you believed or what your future was going to be?
Bingo. Great question to ask. Yes. And so essentially what I found out is I'm an 11 life path. And so that calls me to essentially bring practicality and spirituality together for others and to be a light for others. And within the role that I was doing, I was in consumer packaged goods. I was selling candy, right? Successfully. It's a great living. I wasn't serving that. And so I felt unfulfilled. So I continued to see success, right? But I wasn't getting that thing that's down in your stomach or in your, I forget the term, in your chakra, your solar plexus, that makes you
Mhm.
feel complete and whole. And so, another part of my chart is the heart's desire number of two. Two wants to collaborate and have peace. And I was at a point in my career where I was not able to have the level of collaboration and influence that I was hoping for. And I wasn't getting the peace I consistently needed, and thought it was important for me to show up. And so that's when I started to, really take a look at my chart and bet on myself. And what's interesting is I've done this a couple times before, but I didn't use numerology. So before I used strength finders or Myers-Briggs to say, if I want to go for this promotion, if I want to get this next job, how does this align with what I do well and what even my career path is? So I'd already been modeling this, but to now apply it
Mhm.
to something as powerful as numerology and say, does this align with my life path and my mission, was huge. And so that's why I felt comfortable betting on myself and leaving salary, leaving car, leaving insurance, leaving safety, right? And betting on crazy.
Yeah, no, it's you following your like your heart's desires, what your purpose is, and that's a really good thing to do. But like, so if we go back though, when you're in the corporate world, you was very successful. Why did you actually start like even studying numerology? Was there something inside of you that felt wasn't what right? Something must have led you towards that path. Like obviously you was already spiritual, but what actually like what nobody just comes across and like right, I'm just gonna take up some neurology. Like what made you sign up in the first place?
Great question. Um, so I kind of stumbled across it. I wasn't looking for it anyway. And like I said, I'd really been taught in my previous life, as a youth, it's not something that you do, right? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but essentially it's just outside of what traditional religion is. So I can get sucked down the YouTube path, right? So we get on YouTube and it starts taking you down the path of this video to this video. And I'm a sucker for conspiracy theories. Not because I believe everything, but I'm obsessed with connections. I'm real big on cause and effect. How did this happen? Why did they see it this way? And so I'm going down this rabbit hole of videos and I come across a guy who starts to use numerology to tie specific dates and events together. This is a 9 year. So this did this, and this went to this, and this is there. And I said, oh, this is a quick way to figure out things. This is almost like a cipher. This is, a hack. So I started to look into it more, which means I watched too many damn videos again. And then I decided to start getting some books. And I think I got 7 books in 6 months. And I just got obsessed in every way about how consistent the numbers were and how consistent people will call it a pseudoscience is, right? But the practice. And I'll even go so far as to let you know, I've also built an app based on this so that people can do it quicker. So I learned over time how to train GPTs in AI in Chat GPT, and I have built it to automatically kick out answers. And now I have an app that'll be released next month that can do all of this work for you easily. And so when you say obsessed, I became absolutely obsessed. And the more obsessed I am, the more I believe.
Absolutely love it. And that's exciting about your app as well. So massive congratulations for that.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
okay, so this is very unique. Not a lot of people talk about numerology at all. Have you had any kind of like people not believing it, or like, do you know when you're just talking in general, it's kind of like you have to be kind of a little bit open-minded to actually believe, like, and accept it, because some people are straight like, no, that's just a load of nonsense. Have you come across that at all?
More than I'd like, especially in the beginning in some instances, right? And so I'll be open, and the part of the community that I live in, it is a very religious-based community. So there's a lot of hands off or, concern about, what I do. A lot of people think I'm a neurologist, first off. So I have to understand that I have to say numerology and pronounce it because people don't
Mhm,
even understand what I do. But in
mhm,
saying that, essentially, what's come down to is people have said, what does that mean for me as a Christian? Or that just sounds like astrology, or that's not a real science, right? And I take all of those instances and start to understand and hear what the fear or the concern or the trepidation of the person, and I lead with curiosity. Why do you feel that way? What have you heard about it? And that helps me be that much more impactful for the next conversation so I can head that off and make people feel more comfortable. I've taken some of those instances like, what does that mean for Christians? And said, hey, I grew up a Christian. And actually, numerology shows up in the Bible multiple times over. And here's where you can see it. And so what it teaches me when I hear the pushback, because I believe in it, is that I need to refine the message. So
mhm.
I accept it all, and I think it's all for the good.
So you've literally reframed it and you're taking it as a positive to come back stronger, basically, which is a good thing. You haven't let it knock you down or anything like that. You believe in it more, and you're learning more from it, because then you're going away, studying what they've said and learning the comebacks, basically, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you
You're
turned it
only making me stronger.
exactly. So thanks for that, because I'm going to go away and research what I can do next time, which is a really good thing. But no, so with this then, what's like long-term goals for you now? Obviously, you're only 3 months in. Like, I've been in your shoes when you're only 3 months in. You've just quit your corporate job and all of these things. How are you feeling? Like, how are you building? How does the next year look for you?
Yeah, the next year is very exciting because, like I said, this is a personal year 8 for me. So from this birthday of May to the next May, this is when I should be in my strongest with the wind behind my back, right? So my job is to work my butt off and give the universe something to activate again so I can manifest it. And so it starts next month officially with the app that will be released just to get people grounded in it. It's like Duolingo for the soul in the language of numbers. So I created an avatar called Nico the Number Chef, and he's a fun cartoon chef that will cook up the best day for you based on your core 4 and your numerology chart. So that's where we're going to kick off. I'm almost done with my book. I have a new book that I will be releasing called Stop Ghosting Your Greatness, and it's based on numerology and this power pyramid that I shared. And so that will be released immediately following that. I hope to be doing more podcasts where I can share more, and I'm constantly making myself available and then meeting more people for coaching and collaborating in my community. Now that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm diving into the entrepreneur world and meeting more of us. And it's so inspiring to see how many people have already bet on themselves long before I did it. And so over the next year, I hope that's what I'm just consumed with doing.
That's really, really exciting. And what does your, so you've got a book coming out, which is absolutely fantastic. You've got the app. What does your coaching look like? Do you have like one-to-one clients? Do you do it in group? Is it where they're coming to you with like problems? How does numerology, how can you work with clients on a one-to-one bit? Well, how do you do it for a start?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a full framework outside of even the one that I've shared here that I will apply and do apply for my clients. So it's a one-on-one. Essentially, what I offer is a 30-minute initial consultation so we can talk about your core four numbers. I do not make your core four numbers something hard to get or obtain. I think they're important and they belong to you. It's what we do together in clarity work that makes it special. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about what your goals are and your values and maybe some of your struggles, and then it's a 6-month program where we go back and forth with tools and you start to apply um, the frameworks and the practices and really just start living your numbers. For Number You, the business that we have, it's the tagline is live your numbers. And that's what I'm trying to do is give people the opportunity to find ways to really live their best self. And so the one-on-one coaching allows for that. And when you come out on the other side, you'll be empowered and ready to apply 8 times over, and you'll have the confidence that you were hoping for.
No, that's great. And do you know, like through coaching and obviously through your own experiences, I big believer of this, like anything that's going on external, it's just a reflection of yourself internal. Do you know when they're learning about their numbers and they're learning about themselves, what's good for them, what's not good for them, do you find that they are working more internally than they ever have before because it's about them and not more external?
Mm, yes, that's a great insight. Absolutely, it is. Because so much of the noise that we take from being on social media, taking in certain, activities with friends or listening to certain negative vibes from other family or whomever it might be, are the influence that is dominant. But when you really take into numerology, you put in your name and birth date, and I think you did that too, right? You got
Yeah,
to see what yours came back, and you
yeah, it was
say,
cool.
"This is me." That's a core view that doesn't shake. And
That's
then
what
you
I
start to
did.
say, "Yeah, yeah." It really helps you arrive at who you are. And it goes back to that term believe that I said, right? You now believe in yourself and you become obsessed with yourself. And then you become the cipher where you're saying, not obsessed with yourself in a negative way, but you start to say, what am I doing? And it becomes a troubleshooting method that you have in yourself that, as opposed to looking outwardly, like you said, you're now looking inward because you know those answers are very real and that is something that belongs to you, and you can trust that a lot of times before you can trust the rest of society and others.
Yeah, I literally love that though because like just before we started recording, I told you I did what you advised them numbers. I looked at my video and it was telling me my purpose was to be helping people, to share my story, to do these sort of things and all of that. Now I know I was on that journey, but then sometimes the self-doubt does come in, and now that word belief actually I am meant to be doing this. I actually believe it because it was already written in my numbers. Like you do have
That
that. And I was like, I was shocked that like it's just telling me everything I'm already doing. So that was actually crazy. So the word belief that you're saying, when they hear it out loud, do you get a lot of people that actually and they it gives them that the confidence and the belief that they are on the right path. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And it's that moment, right? It's that oh gosh, it's that when you look in the mirror and you can't see anything else except the mirror. And I call mine a four-way mirror, the core four. You're gonna look here, you're gonna look here. This is all of you, right? You're not escaping it. And when
Yeah.
you really embrace that, that's where it becomes a changer. I'll tell you a funny story about my daughter. She's a life path three.
Hmm.
So she is prone to high creativity and communication, and creating, all of those things. But the other side of that is she can be very scattered. She can be very distracted, right? And so she's telling me after school about how frustrated she is that she has to get up in front of class to talk about a subject and work on Spanish in front of the group. And I'm saying it's a part of your life path to have that challenge so that you can grow into this communicator that you're supposed to be. And of course, she rolls her eyes. She's 14 years old. But it goes to show that these are the things that you really can't escape and that are meant for you. And if you embrace them and just get on board, it's all for the good.
No, that's really, really cool. It's so interesting, and I love how it does make help people believe in themselves. They learn a lot about themselves, and it does shift the awareness to themselves rather than just like what's going on, like what's actually meant for me. So I think it's actually incredible what you're trying to do. So yeah, um, where can people find your app, your book? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. The book will be completed soon, and you can find links to that and my app on my Instagram. So, for those that aren't aware, Number U is the name of my company. Okay, and it's spelled Numbr. There's no E, U. So Numbr, and then Nation is how you spell the Instagram handle. So it's Number Nation on Instagram, and that is where you will find access to me one-on-one. It's where you'll get a lot of the tools. You'll find our free Core 4 calculator right now that's available. There's access to the app that we'll be launching soon. And so anything that has to do with self-awareness and confidence, you'll find me on Instagram. Again, Marcus Combs. I'm excited to extend myself, reach out on DMs. Let's start to develop a relationship and get you on your path.
Okay, absolutely amazing. And what are you going to be doing with, have you got like, are you really busy with clients? Are you just feeling like building the momentum? What are you doing?
Yeah, so right now I'm building momentum. I'm starting to hold clinics here locally in my community where people pay and we go through a light version of what I do one-on-one to get people more exposed to numerology. So I have an entrepreneur group that promotes that. And so I have that'll be starting next month that I failed to mention. Thank you. I have 2 or 3 clients right now that I have signed up to start the program. So that's very exciting. And so many of the tools and a lot of the work I've done in the background is getting people more in tune and educated with what exactly I'm offering. I
Mhm.
will state that numerology traditionally is kind of a take it and here it is type practice. Here's what, what you are, enjoy it. And what I am committed to doing is activating that with you. I call it nurturing your soul. So the idea of me taking numerology and then making it a coaching practice and a confidence build is different. And I'm excited about being different and people catching on. So stay tuned.
No, absolutely amazing. And if anybody that's listening now struggling and they're struggling to believe in themselves or anything like that, what would be one big piece of advice you would give them?
The big piece of advice I would give them is something that was shared with me when I was probably the most lost in college. So I had just failed through almost my second semester of biology because I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Okay. I switched my major to business and I meet an HR professor and she says this in class. Pursue your purpose with passion and receive the payoff. So, as a young college kid, I want to go get the payoff. I want to go get the money. And then everybody wants to talk about what they're passionate about. But what changed me is what it starts with: pursue your purpose. You have to find your purpose. And I spent decades trying to find that purpose. And I feel like I can save you so much time and heartache in seconds by understanding your core 4 and arriving at your purpose and your why so that you can start the work now. So I would say pursue your purpose. Let's find what it is and get it to work.
Okay, absolutely amazing. Marcus, you've been absolutely amazing today. Thank you so much. I found it so interesting. I'm sure you are going to help so many people. So, yeah, a massive thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I love what you do. I love the energy you show up with. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
about your tour that's coming up. And
Thank
more
you.
importantly, thank you for extending this opportunity. We met over direct message, and so much of it had to do with how you consistently show up as confident. It was very inspiring. So thank you for who you are.
Thank you. And it's lovely to have you on as a guest. But yeah, I'm excited to share this. I will get all your details and I'll put it in so people can reach out to you as well. So yeah, thank you.